High Definition News for Monday, February 29th, Leap Day 2016. I'm Jeff Kaufman.
Well, I'm here at the Academy Awards, otherwise known as the White People's Choice Awards.
The Movie Academy and Oscars host Chris Rock could have tried to put on a show so dazzling, so inspired, that it would obscure the controversy over the all-white acting nominations. Instead, they chose to saddle up and ride the elephant in the room. And Rock did not let up. From the opening monologue to the final goodnight.
Things are going to be a little different at the Oscars. This year, in the in memoriam package, it's just going to be black people that were shot by the cops on their way to the movies.
Rock's comedy definitely had an edge, and sometimes he dropped the jokes in favor of sincerity.
You know, it's not about boycotting anything. It's just we want opportunity. We want the black actors to get the same opportunities as white actors. That's it, you know? Just, not just once.
A segment in which Rock interviewed African-American moviegoers who had not seen the Best Picture nominees was a reminder that the most watched movies and the most watched TV shows are often different for whites and blacks, but Oscars about winners, and here they are. Best Picture, Spotlight, a movie that made heroes out of newspaper reporters. Best Actor, Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant. It's his first Academy Award after losing 5 times. He ran through his thank yous, then made the most polished political speech of the evening, urging viewers to work to combat the effects of climate change.
I thank you all for this amazing award tonight. Let us not take this planet for granted. I do not take tonight for granted. Thank you so very much.
Brie Larson won Best Actress for Room. The supporting acting Oscars went to Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl, and for Bridge of Spies, Mark Rylance, who beat the sentimental favorite Sylvester Stallone. Alejandro Inarritu won his second consecutive directing Oscar for The Revenant. He won last year for Birdman. But his director of photography, Emmanuel Lubezki, is ahead of him by 1. He won this year's Cinematography Award for The Revenant, last year's for Birdman, and the year before that for Gravity. The night's longest standing ovation was for 87-year-old composer Ennio Morricone, who won the original score Oscar for The Hateful Eight. Vice President Biden brought a message about sexual assault and consent, then introduced Lady Gaga's powerful performance of Till It Happens to You, with sexual assault survivors on stage behind her. But Sam Smith took home the Oscar for the insipid Writings on the Wall from the Bond film Spectre. Is that it?
We're black.
The night belonged to Mad Max, Fury Road, which won 6 Oscars. That puts it in good company. The other films that have won half a dozen Little Gold Men, All About Eve, A Man for All Seasons, An American in Paris, A Place in the Sun, Chicago, Forrest Gump, Mrs. Miniver, Star Wars, The Godfather 2, and The Hurt Locker. While diversity, or the lack of it, dominated the conversation at the Dolby, 30 miles down the freeway in Anaheim, police were unlocking jail cell doors and telling 5 members of the Ku Klux Klan arrested Saturday they were free to go. The Klansmen were taken into custody after a bloody brawl with anti-Klan protesters. People who live near Pearson Park in Anaheim say the Klan has been leafleting the neighborhood for weeks, then announced it'd hold a rally at the park on Saturday. But counter-protesters showed up first. When KKK members arrived, the two sides went at it. Get away! When police pulled the two groups apart, 3 anti-Klan demonstrators had stab wounds. One of them had been stabbed with a flagpole. They're all hospitalized in serious condition, but Anaheim police said video of the incident shows the Klan members acted in self-defense. So they were released with no charges. 7 anti-Klan protesters who were also arrested, still in custody. The KKK is also an issue in the Republican presidential campaign. On Friday, Donald Trump received an endorsement almost no politician would want from David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK. Duke quit the Klan in the 80s to try to go mainstream. He served 1 term as a Louisiana state representative and ran in Louisiana's presidential primary, once as a Democrat, once as a Republican. In 2012, he said he was thinking about running for the Republican presidential nomination, but he didn't. Friday, he told his radio audience that not voting for Trump would amount to treason to your heritage. On CNN yesterday, Trump was ambivalent when asked if he disavowed Duke's endorsement.
I don't know. I don't know. Did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
Later, Trump did tweet, "I disavow." Both Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz condemned Trump yesterday for not quickly putting distance between himself and David Duke. And Duke is not the only unsavory character Trump had to answer questions about this weekend. Yesterday, Trump retweeted a quote from Benito Mussolini, Italy's fascist dictator and Hitler's ally during World War II. When he was asked about it on NBC's Meet the Press, Trump said, "Hey, a good quote is a good quote."
Look, Mussolini was Mussolini. It's okay it's a very good quote. It's a very interesting quote. And I know it. I saw it. And I know who said it. But what difference does it make, whether it's Mussolini or somebody else?
It's not the first time Trump has tweeted himself into a tight spot. In January, he retweeted a smack at Jeb Bush from someone with the Twitter handle White Genocide. Almost a quarter of the delegates needed to clinch the Republican nomination, and nearly half the number needed for the Democratic nomination, up for grabs tomorrow in the Super Tuesday primaries in 12 states, and all the polls right now say Clinton and Trump. The CHP is still looking for the driver of a car that clipped a UPS truck on I-5 in Commerce Saturday, causing a multi-vehicle accident that killed 3 people and shut down the freeway in both directions most of the day. The Long Beach City Council has on its agenda tomorrow, a vote that may end up banning hoverboards in the city. Here's some catch-up for your Monday breakfast. This is some of what might have got past you since Friday.
Blue moon, you saw me standing alone.
Lenny Baker never had to worry about being alone when he sang lead on Blue Moon. The other members of the retro doo-wop group Sha Na Na were right behind him on their syndicated TV show in the 1970s, in the movie Grease, and on the road for more than 30 years. Baker was no Lenny come lately to old-time rock and roll. Before Sha Na Na, he was in an actual 1950s band, Danny and the Juniors. He died last week in Massachusetts. Lenny Baker was 69. And from Memphis, word of the death of the man known as Dr. Nick. George Nicopolis was Elvis Presley's doctor. The Tennessee Medical Board says Dr. Nick was also the King's connection. He supplied Elvis with stimulants, sedatives, painkillers. By Dr. Nick's own admission, in 1977 alone, he prescribed 10,000 doses of uppers, downers, and everything in between. But Dr. Nick always denied that the medications contributed to Elvis's death at age 42 in the bathroom at Graceland in 1977. The coroner disagreed. Dr. Nick was acquitted of the criminal charges, but the medical board permanently suspended his license in 1995. His explanation for all the meds he gave the king of rock and roll? Dr. Nick said, "I cared too much." And now, we'd like you to meet the one guy in West Hollywood who never checks social media.
Trying to get my sleep this morning, and all of a sudden a neighbor starts blasting Elton John, and then I slowly am trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I was going to yell at my neighbor, and I came, and he was my neighbor singing for us.
Elton John staged a free concert Saturday in the parking lot of the Old Tower Record Store on the Sunset Strip. It was a thank you to the city of West Hollywood for hosting his annual Oscar night party, which benefits his AIDS Foundation. A couple thousand people packed into the space and spilled out onto Sunset. Elton announced the concert Friday night, but he did not say where it would be until 2 hours beforehand. Why the Tower parking lot? He told AOL his husband, David Furnish, suggested it because the store was such a big part of Elton's life when he first came to the U.S. in 1970.
I used to go there at 9 o'clock in the morning before it was open, go through every rack, every whatever. I knew it back to front. I could have worked there, and I wouldn't have minded working there. It was so much fun. And when it died, I was so sad. I mean, when it went, I used to go there at 9 o'clock in the morning before it was open, go through every rack, every whatever. I knew it back to front. I could have worked there, and I wouldn't have minded working there. It was so much fun. And when it died, I was so sad. I mean, when it went. And recently they put the Tower Records theme back on the building. And I just thought, what a perfect place. Well, David thought, what a perfect place to do it.
Don't let the sun go down on me.
Lady Gaga joined Elton on Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. The free concert lasted 70 minutes, and you can see it on YouTube. Now you know what we know. I'm Jeff Kaufman, High Definition News.